Council will call the meeting to order. For the record, it is December 5th, 2023 at 4:31 PM. We'll begin this afternoon's work session with roll call attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilwoman Strader. Here. Councilman Overton.
Here.
Councilwoman Perot.
Here.
Councilman Cavanagh.
Here.
Councilman Borton.
Here.
Councilman Hoagland.
Here.
Mayor Simison.
Here. Next item up is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hoagland.
I move that we adopt the agenda as published.
Second. Motion is second to adopt the agenda as published. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hoagland.
we have a lengthy consent agenda, and I'm confident everyone has looked through things and there are no questions. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda and for the mayor to sign and clerk to attest.
Second. Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the consent agenda is agreed to. There are no items moved from the consent agenda, so we'll move on to department commission reports. So first item up is item 27, which is the Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. And I will turn this over to Crystal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As you mentioned, this is our consolidated plan overview for the year. It's a review of program year 2022, which ran from October 1, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. So the purpose of this presentation is to share with you our annual accomplishments, our expenditures, and the evaluation of progress toward our goals. We're currently working under our 22 through 2026 consolidated plan, and the goals that we have established for that are public facility and infrastructure improvements, public services, housing, and program administration. For our first goal, we had a 5-year objective of providing non-housing community development that benefits 2,000 individuals, and we've currently exceeded that with the projects that we completed during PY22. The first one was Public Works completed the installation and modernization of 4 streetlights for 1 project and the planning and design for 3 additional projects, all of which are for walking routes to Meridian schools. They were also, or Parks and Recreation actually was able to complete the installation of the Chateau Park Playground that they started last year as well. Under housing, our first objective is to provide homeowner repairs to 20 households, and we're currently at 30% of that goal. We worked with NeighborWorks Boise for the homeowner repair program, and they had 2 projects that carried over last year, and they were able to approve an additional 6 projects for this year. They completed the repairs on 6 of the homes. It says 7 on there, but that's a typo. It was only 6 of the homes, and they'll have 2 additional ones that they'll complete during this current program year. The second goal under housing is to provide homebuyer assistance to 2 households, and we're 50% of the way there on that one. NeighborWorks Boise, again, worked with their homebuyer assistance program, and they provided assistance to 1 household. For public services, our first objective is to provide public services to 165 individuals, and we've exceeded that. Some of that was with our CARES Act funds, but these accomplishments on this screen is only for our regular funding, and I'll talk about our CARES Act funds a little bit later. The first project was the Boys and Girls Club scholarships. They were able to provide access to extended care programs for 52 youth, and Meridian Senior Center provided transportation to 193 seniors. Our second objective under public services was to provide homelessness prevention to 90 individuals, and we're 40% of the way to that total goal. This year, Jesse Tree provided they provided rental assistance to 36 individuals. So our CARES Act funds, we were awarded these in June 2020. That's when our first program started, and we've utilized all of them during our last program year. So we do not have any more. And over the course of the 3 years that we had that, we worked with NeighborWorks Boise Mortgage Assistance to assist 76 individuals. Ada County Housing Authority provided emergency rental assistance to 209 individuals. And then we worked with Allenby House for case management services to 23 individuals. And IDA EYC provided childcare scholarships to 45 children. We also, for our final goal, there's not really any objectives for that, but we provided subrecipient management, which includes monitoring, technical assistance, oversight of construction projects to ensure compliance, administering the additional CARES Act funding, ensuring deadlines are met, ongoing training, process improvements, coordination with local communities, and helping to facilitate the Idaho Fair Housing Forum. So this year we had a little bit over $1 million for total resources, which includes our current year's allocation. About 48% of that was from the current year. 29% was from our remaining CARES Act funds. And then we had about 16% of it was PY21 funds and about 7% was PY20 funds. During PY22, we spent a total of $729,881. This is broken out on, as you can see by the colors, the goals and then CARES Act funds. So under administrative costs, we spent roughly $40,000. Public services was around $77,000. Housing, $178,000. Public facilities and infrastructure improvements were $115,000. And then the CARES Act funds were $320,000 almost. So this leaves $357,000 in unspent funds. The majority of this is for projects that are continuing. The Homebuyer Assistance Program, I mentioned that they're wrapping up 2 of the homes that were previously approved. And then we have 3 streetlight projects. And the Homebuyer Assistance Program is scheduled to end the end of this program year. We did have a few projects that were completed under budget, and this left about $32,000 that's going to be reallocated to our low mod walkability project. We have some ongoing efforts with housing affordability. We're focusing on programs to purchase housing or remain in housing that's affordable. And we also work to provide services that offset basic living expenses. For homelessness and special needs, we collaborate with agencies that specialize in those areas like Our Path Home, the Behavioral Health Board, and Neighbors United. For public housing, we coordinate with Ada County Housing Authority, and other actions that we take on include coordinating with the other communities, fair housing, and lead-based paint. So our timeline for this CAPER, the public comment period opened on November 28th. We have a presentation today, and then the public comment period will close on December 15th. And by the 19th, I should be able to have this submitted to HUD. If anybody has any questions or comments that they would like to share, then they can reach out to me directly. They can also find a copy of the draft document on our website, and my contact information is also there. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Crystal. Council, any questions?
Sure.
Councilman Capper.
Crystal, as always, appreciate the presentation and overview. Do a lot each year. As we're going to the public comment period, can you just refresh me? What do you do? What does the city do to communicate to the public that we're seeking comment and feedback?
So we put it on our website, and then I have a distribution list that I send it out to. There's some citizens that have sent me messages when we've done outreach throughout the years so that they can provide comments, and also our stakeholders that we work with. And we also work with our subrecipients to ask them to share it with people that they work with as well.
Mr. Mayor, follow up.
Councilman Capper.
You or attorney or Mr. Clerk, do we notice it like a public hearing, or do we notice it just like a comment period? And does that shift how we communicate to the public that we're looking for feedback?
I did notice this. Sorry, were you talking to me?
Go ahead, Crystal.
Sorry. When I noticed it, then I sent it out as just a public comment period and then referenced this presentation tonight. So our citizen participation plan does not require this to have a public hearing. So there's no actual public hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Capper.
Sorry, now a little more confused. Is there a difference between if we were to do this as a public hearing versus a public comment period? And from an operational standpoint, there isn't any difference. Can we just default to this being more of a public hearing and following that same process?
It works for me. I would take the comments anyway. So yeah, that works perfectly for me.
Council, additional questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Pearl.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you and good job. This is fantastic. It was really great to see the CARES Act funds go for helping residents specifically with rent and other needs that are they're individual to members of our community. And I really appreciated that. So I'm amazed at how far we were able to get this year. I know sometimes it is really difficult to get those funds executed in a specific fiscal year. So done a fantastic job. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Crystal. Up next is item 28, which is the Linda Road Pine to Use Stick Concept Report Update. This should be a very exciting conversation. I don't know how many of you may have received something from ACHD with some of the proposals earlier today or not. I know they got my opinion and feedback already, but I will turn this over to, is this going to be Caleb or Brian to start off? I'll turn this over to Ms. McClure. Comments? What happens when you give someone a promotion? They no longer know how to use technology.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is an information briefing on Linda Road Pine to Ustick corridor study. I also have Brooke, the project manager from ACHD, and Pearson from HDR, who is the engineering consultant here if you have any questions that I can't answer. We're here to give you an overview of some unique elements of the concepts going out to the public today. There are 3 concepts for the public to view, which include enhancements for the whole corridor. Today's presentation, however, will only focus on the segment between Sandalwood and Chateau. This segment is a pinch point between 5-lane sections to the north and south. To address this constraint, ACHD has approached us with a fairly unique solution, at least to Ada County. The study area here is no further north than Ustick and no further south than Pine. Some of these areas have already seen widening improvements and are being preserved in part or in whole. Local attractors along the corridor include Tolley Park on the east side, Barbara Morgan Elementary School on the west side, and Meridian High School at the corner of Pine and Linder. As previously noted, the focus of this presentation will be on the segment between Chateau and Sandalwood. To review the project area, please check out the online open house website. It sounds like some of you already received that. We'll be back next year to provide updates on that, and I will have that link at the end of this slide as well. Linder Road is a regional corridor with one of the few Boise River crossings. With the I-84 overpass, it will be the longest continuous north-south road in Ada County. As noted, the road serves many users, including multiple schools and a city park. The ACHD project team seeks to improve the corridor for all users and including bike and pedestrian enhancements that result in a level of traffic stress, one of 2. Outreach has been and continues to be a huge component of this project. Brooke has held evening meetings one-on-one twice with all of the residents in the focal segment, or will have meetings twice. Any concept put forward is very likely to impact existing residents in this area. I'll just pause there to note, the reason for that is many homes not just front on here, but they have very short driveways. And even a 3-lane road impacts homes because their parking pads would be deficient. ACHD staff, the ACHD Pedestrian Advisory Group, and a few ACHD commissioners and city staff attended a walk audit of the corridor in early September. Not sure why that keeps doing that. This segment of Linder Road, Pine to Ustick, was priority number 7 for Meridian in the 2024-2025 integrated 5-year work plan. The project is a middle segment falling behind projects to the north and south. South is Linder Road overland to Franklin with the overpass. That is being designed as a 4- and 5-lane road with construction slated for 2026 to 2027. North is Linder Road, Shinden Boulevard to State Highway 44. That is also in design with construction yet to be determined. That segment is 5 to 7 lanes. And just again to highlight the area for this project. 3 concepts have been developed in total. 2 of the alternatives incorporate a shared residential street or what some would consider a frontage road that is shared. ACHD currently has a similar treatment on Whitewater Park Boulevard in Boise. A shared road is exactly what it sounds like and accommodates vehicle, bike, and pedestrian use in the same space. Safety is important and would incorporate traffic calming, additional signage, and textured surfaces to get distinguished spaces. Many details would need to be worked out in construction design. For Linder and the focus segment, shared use roads would be bookended by new roundabouts at Sandalwood and Chateau. These roundabouts ensure local easy access while removing backup parking concerns, not just on the roadway, but what would otherwise be multi-use pathways. We'll note we gave this presentation to the Transportation Commission last night and we had some presentation issues, so you're seeing more than they did. An important note for this in the next few slides is that these are not necessarily final graphics. For those, please see the website. Don't dwell too much on the areas outside of the cross-section footprints that you'll see in the actual cross-section. Concept 1, which you see here, is 3 lanes, 1 in each direction, and a center turn lane. It also includes shared use roads on both sides of Linder between Sandalwood and Chateau, and a couplet bookended as noted previously by 1-lane roundabouts. Summarized benefits include the fewest impacts to existing properties, reduced congestion as a designated left lane, and enhanced speed management with medians and roundabouts and landscaping with city cost share participation. City Council previously prioritized Linder with the overpass to the south for cost share participation. Summarized challenges include required merging for drivers on the north and south of the focus segment and changes to how residents use their property. You also want to note, in case it comes up in a future project phase, city staff have some concerns with missing inputs into the regional long-range transportation model. That isn't anything the engineering team did wrong, but limitations in the base data that everyone uses. Congestion and capacity are not the only important factors here, but some of the forecast turning movements gave Meridian staff pause. What you see here for concept 2 in the hatched brown areas is all of the property impacts. Concept 2 is a fairly standard 5-lane configuration and includes 2 lanes in each direction, center turn lane and multi-use pathways. The crossed out areas, as I just noted, are full property acquisitions. Summarized benefits include slightly improved travel times along the studied area and reduced conflicts and improved access for local residents. Summarized challenges include the largest footprint of the 3 concepts, the largest property impacts, reduced effect on congestion, and may realize increased driver speeds. Concept 3 is similar to concept 1 in that it includes a couplet, but it is a 5-lane configuration with 2 lanes in each direction. A shared use road only on the west side, multi-use pathway on the east side, and a couplet with multi-lane roundabouts. Multi-lane roundabouts are 2 lanes north-south and 1 lane east-west. Summarized benefits include slightly improved travel times along the studied corridor area, fewer property impacts than a traditional 5-lane cross-section, and enhanced speed management with medians and roundabouts and landscaping with city cost share participation. Summarized challenges include a wider footprint and more property acquisitions than the 3-lane concept. This includes acquisitions for all properties on the east side between the roundabouts. It also changes how residents use their property, provides reduced effect on congestion, and may realize increased driver speed. We'll also note the reason the east side is impacted is previously noted is because of the driveways. They're already deficient in some cases, and any improvements will make them more so. You'll note here that this timeline began in December of last year. We're now in the middle of this timeline on December 5th. As previously noted, public outreach has begun today. After a public outreach sometime next year, there will be another city council check-in. City staff will also make sure that the Transportation Commission has an opportunity to provide their thoughts leading up to that. Thoughts. 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 Lead With that, I'm here to answer any questions. And again, we have Brooke and Pearson from ACHD available, and the project website is on the screen.
Council questions, comments, feedback?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Schrader.
thanks, Brian. Help me understand the shared roadway concept a bit more, or maybe ACHD can. Like, how is that safe for pedestrians and different users? I'm not following that at all. And just background, which I'm sure you have already, Brooke, is, Meridian as a city has really championed the detached multi-use pathways. And I know that that makes me feel more confident with my kids next to the road. So help me understand how this concept is different and how it would be acceptable.
Certainly. And good evening, Brooke Green for the record. I'm the Senior Transportation Planner with Ada County Highway District. Mayor and Councilman Strader, that's a very good question. The way in which we can design a shared use space, there's ways in which we can add treatment elements, and we usually do that in the design phase. It can include the pervious pavement, which is one element. So essentially what you're looking at, rather than a road that looks like asphalt, you're looking at something that looks more of a kind of, it's, how do you put it? It's like tile-ish. And so it's permeous pavement. It allows the water to seep through. But in addition to that, it adds an additional friction. You can add other elements like curb cuts. You can add other elements such as a chicane through that space. One way to look at it is if you were coming out of a cul-de-sac, essentially, it's only used for those who reside around the cul-de-sac. Hence, they're going very slow when you come out of that space. We want to design that space for that same level of friction that allows people to drive very slow, but people can use that space together. In addition to that, as you're going to see here, we have a curb ribbon, a concrete ribbon, which is kind of our smooth space. We do want to consider adding that element to kind of emphasize this is where people could walk if they like, if they don't feel comfortable taking the rest of that space. Essentially, you have got 16 feet, so a car can still traverse through this area. In addition to that, this will only serve about 10 homes. And if you take into account how many vehicle travels takes place with one single detached, it's about 10 trips a day. So it's not going to be utilized very often, come and go, kind of like a long driveway. But it's a very good point. It's something we haven't necessarily have done before, but with our new standard approach with all the buffered space, we were trying to come up with an innovative approach to ensure that we could preserve as many homes as we could while still providing a space that's comfortable for young children to navigate. As we recognize, Barbara Morgan is right around the corner. So we want to ensure that whatever design elements we incorporate into that we really are emphasizing bikes and peds first. Vehicles, you're just using this to get out of your driveway.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Schrader.
how now help walk me through. So let's say that traffic does get backed up on Linder. How do you avoid drivers using this shared use road as a shortcut? Because I could see that happening easily. Like traffic's backed up and they see, oh, this is wide open. I'm going to zip through there.
You're a high school? Are you crazy?
It is crazy, but human behavior.
Mayor and Councilwoman, that's a very good question. While if they were to cut through that, they're going to find themselves constrained at the second roundabout proposed here. So essentially, they're not going to be buying them much space, and they're still going to have to try to merge into a congested environment. In addition to that, the idea is to be able to put give it a driveway apron. So you were actually pulling off into a space that doesn't look like a road. Essentially, you're kind of going into a driveway. And in addition to that, it'll all be at grade at that level, whereas Linder will be asphalt at a lower level. So you will know you are in a space that you're not supposed to be in.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hoagland.
if you can help me understand, looking at this graphic here, I don't know how that translates to that actual street, but how much of the driveway then is taken up? You talk about access the driveway, but I'm thinking there's not much of a driveway left, but I could be wrong.
Mayor and Councilman Hoagland, is that
Mhm.
pronounced right? Yes, actually, it's a very good question. Currently, right now, the driveways are approximately a little over 20 to 30 feet. And it's because many of those driveways are utilizing public right-of-way, approximately 10 feet of public right-of-way they have grown into. So we will be using that 10 feet that we have preserved for public right-of-way for this actual shared use roadway and concrete ribbon. So they will still have their 20-foot driveways, so they can still park there, but they'll be pulling out into a shared use road as opposed to pulling out onto Linder Road.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Hoagland.
And I'm just curious, this is in all the designs, you have the buffers on the sides of 5 feet, whether it's sidewalk or a shared use road. And the median island is 8 feet. Just curious as why, if 5 feet's adequate, why that isn't 5 feet in the middle, just, square footage is cost. I mean, so just curious about that.
Mayor and Councilman, and that's another, you guys have phenomenal questions. Actually, the 8 feet is our standard for us to provide class 1 trees in there. The 5 feet buffered space, that is allowing probably class 2 trees to be put into those spaces. It is greatly reduced because we're trying to preserve as much space as we can. But for us to have a landscape median ACHD's policies, it has to be 8 feet. And actually it's 11 feet, including the curb and gutter. We have more wiggle room in the buffer spaces along the road itself.
Yeah, we won't criticize. I think technically the tree on the right-hand side is too far into the roadway and doesn't have enough clearance, but we won't criticize this one. Sorry, I'm a little. Councilman Cavanagh, did you have a
Sure,
question?
thanks. Ms. Green, appreciate you being here. Always nice to have you in our presence. Brian touched on in the timeline about the survey that was conducted in 22. What were the findings of that survey and how is that helping to kind of guide how these recommendations were formed?
Mayor and Councilman Cavanier, I don't have the survey with me. I'd certainly be happy to get back to you what those specific findings are. But what I can attest to is that you have a lot of people who want us to provide for congestion mitigation through the corridor, a lot of people who want to see an expansion of the roadway. But in addition to that, a lot of the survey respondents highlighted that they also want safe access for their children to walk to and from Barbara Morgan, and including Tully Park. And so you have a lot of people who are, give me space so I can get from point A to point B. In addition to that, ensure that I have enhanced bike and ped facilities. And lastly, you have the residents who reside along the corridor who I've had the privilege to meet with. I've countless evenings meeting with them who have also said, this is our home. Can we do what we can to preserve as many as we could? But to your point about the specific details and data, I'll gladly send a link to that that'll highlight. In addition to that, the survey that's out there today has that link included in it.
Okay, great.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Pearl.
I appreciate the renderings, much easier for us to understand. So just a couple of questions. First, I want to make sure I'm understanding that this is just for the section between Washington and Cherry. So how will this tie in to the design of the rest of Linder on the north and south side?
Mayor and Councilwoman Perot, what we have right now is we're just showcasing one segment along the corridor because this is the pinch point along the corridor. If it's 3 lanes and we reflect the 3 lanes, it'll be 3 lanes for the rest of the corridor. In addition to that, the other 2 alternatives have 5 lanes reflected. It would be 5 lanes for the rest of the corridor. So on the survey that's out there today, it'll highlight concept 1 being that it's 2 lanes or 3 lanes through the corridor. And then concept 2 is the 5 lane standard. And then concept 3 is the 5 lanes with the shared use road. The shared use road only applies at this segment because we're trying to preserve homes. The actual pedestrian facilities would be a multi-use pathway in all 3 options through the whole corridor from Ustick to Pine.
Mr. Mayor, follow up.
Councilman Pearl.
I apologize. I should have clarified. I was specifically meaning the shared use. So it will tie into the 10-foot pathways that already exist on the north and south of this section. I don't think there are 10-foot pathways on the north side of Cherry Lane. So I guess that's what I'm trying to understand is how this puzzle pieces together the shared use design specifically.
Certainly, and Mayor and Councilman Rowe, ACHG standards have grown over time, and what we had before north of Ustick was your standard attached sidewalk. Well, since then, and in particular in this area, because you have so many local attractors, a multi-use pathway is appropriate, especially with a buffered space. So we will have to tie at the intersections to allow folks to traverse off the multi-use pathway onto an existing bike facility. To your point, we don't have a multi-use pathway on the other side on booked end at all. This is the corridor where we're emphasizing the multi-use pathway. Tully Park, the middle school, the high school, we anticipate a lot of people using that space. But it's just policies over time and the road has grown over time and that's where we're at today.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more question if I may.
Councilman Pro.
Thank you. Can you tell us about the homes that would be needed, any of the three designs, how that process works for the homeowners? A lot of those homes are small single-level homes that were built in the 70s or 80s, and how those individuals would then go about relocating to another area that probably would be quite a bit more expensive than what they would be able to sell their homes for or receive from negotiations.
Mayor and Councilman Perot, what I've learned through this whole process is how much depth there is to it and what the compensation package looks like. So should we find ourselves having to purchase a home as a result of this, we do an assessment of it. A third-party assessor comes in, will evaluate it. We either pay for market value or we pay for the assessed value, which one of the two is higher. In addition to that, we look to relocation costs. So for instance, or we hire a third-party relocation company who will go and find that home elsewhere, 3 of them, like homes. And if there's a cost difference between their home and for them to acquire a home that's like theirs now, then that's another piece of the package. In addition to that, and especially with the interest rates being what they are, for folks who found themselves refinancing at that really nice low interest rate, but yet having to purchase at a higher interest rate, we also take that into account and say they had 25 years left on that loan, we actually pay them out that 25 years worth of difference in the interest rate. I've had an opportunity to meet with these and I've met with, at one time and multiple times, I've had whole families sitting in the living room. And to your point, these are people who live there, who've lived there since the beginning. Actually, majority of them on the west side have lived there essentially since the homes were built. And we've talked through that. We had 2 meetings. The first one was introduce them to the project. The second meeting was to introduce them to the concepts. What I didn't want and what we want to ensure was they were not blindsided in a public outreach. I will tell you at this level of concept, we don't do this typically, but because the number of homes that are impacted, we found that it was the most appropriate way to ease this conversation.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Overton.
Brooke or Brian, could you bring up the map that shows version 1 from roundabout to roundabout?
Did you say concept 1?
Concept 1. Yes. So when we're talking about people driving on non-road, what's going to prevent them coming out of the roundabout? I'm assuming that when they come out of the roundabout from Sandalwood heading north, it's 1 lane. So they don't really have a way to get onto that space. And the same goes for the roundabout so coming south, correct?
Mayor, yes, yes, I think it's correct.
And under this version, if this is the choke point, if this is the pinch point that's causing the street, are we then looking at a 5-lane road south of Sandalwood?
Mayor and Councilman, each concept is different. So if it's concept 1, we're proposing 3 lanes through the whole corridor, Pine to Ustick. If it's concept 2, the standard 5 lanes, we're proposing 5 lanes from Pine to Ustick. And then lastly, for the concept 3, same scenario, 5 lanes from Pine to Ustick, with the exception of the shared use road only at this location to preserve the homes.
Thank you. Mayor, follow up.
Councilman Overton.
So that helps me a lot because I think what I'm understanding now is if we went with version 1, that's going to dictate width of road through the entire area, not just through this pinch point.
Mayor and Councilman, yes, when you do the survey, you can choose between concept 1 and 2. We just wanted to highlight this pinch point today just because we anticipated this was going to be where a lot of the questions were, and it's a little bit innovative approach to being able to preserve some homes.
And this kind of hits on my comments that I did when I went online and did it was, to me, this road is an important, as Brian mentioned, north-south corridor connecting not just the overpass. Look at all the schools that are on this corridor. Having 2 travel lanes in each direction, to me personally, is an important part of what needs to occur. What else? I don't know. But dropping this 1.5 mile segment down to 1 lane, where you're gonna have 2 lanes on each side of that feeding into that, and maybe even, well, I don't want to say more coming from Linder up from Eagle, but that becomes a real challenge. I mean, I think, how many of us enjoy driving down, Meridian Road right now when you have to snake down? I mean, that's supposed to be able to handle it. That's what the data tells you, but it doesn't really, especially during the high traffic time periods and being around a high school. I've seen the value and benefit of the 2-lane roads around, Mountain View now, where you've eliminated all your congestion in the morning, but you create the 1 leg coming up into this. You're back to congestion during those times of day when you have extreme amounts of usage. So that was my, rough feedback on the survey I did. Was 4 lanes of travel, I think, is important. The rest of this to me is an important conversation. And I won't ask you to share our conversation offline, because I think that there's a lot more work for yourself to do, but I think 4 lanes is plausible with some other solutions through this proposition that can work, I think, for all parties involved.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Cavanagh.
just more questions for Mr. McClure, if he's willing. So, Brian, I hate to put you on the spot. If you know the answer, it's okay. I remember from an application we had at one point, I think there's a bus stop on the corner of Linder and Chateau. Do you know if that's still the case? And if not, have we flagged this for West Data for their feedback as well?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, West Data is very involved in this, so this was Miranda's project. She's
figured.
tracking this now. She was here last night for Transportation Commission. I do not know the answer to your question, though, as to whether the bus stop is still pending or not. I can get back to you, though.
Okay. And then, Mr. Mayor, just
Councilman Cavanagh.
Ryan, I appreciate that you shared this with the Transportation Commission yesterday. Was there any feedback from them that you think is pertinent for council to hear about this evening?
There were several comments about the appropriateness of 3 lanes. I'm mixing up I think that was probably the big takeaway there. I had 2 presentations and I'm mixing them up in my head right now. Sorry.
Thanks.
I will note, I did commit to them to coming back after the public comment period and with next steps with ACHD and making sure that their comments make their way to you. So I won't forget next time.
Frank, can you elaborate on the appropriateness of 3 lanes? Were they saying that 3 lanes is appropriate, or were they questioning whether 3 lanes was appropriate?
Mr. Mayor, it was the latter. I was questioning whether 3 lanes was appropriate.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Borton.
can you put up concept number 2 again? So is it fair to say that one of the trade-offs with this option is, ACHD is going to have an extra $6 to $8 million in condemnation costs. So that's a big trade-off. So the question would probably come if the city of Meridian wants to pursue this path, surprised if we're asked to forego something else. But am I correct in the acquisition costs as being one of the considerations for concept 2?
Mayor and Councilman Borton, yes, the acquisition costs are certainly significantly higher with concept 2. What will, in the end, what that's going to play out and look like for the actual costs associated with what 2 concepts we bring back in the future, I can't ascertain that.
Sure.
But I certainly can tell you we will be taking 2 concepts out of this. So whether we have one concept and then we blend two of them together to create another one. We will go through that process in the next 5 months, and we'll come back before you in the springtime to highlight what are the two options that we would take to our commission, and we'll let our elected officials make the decision whether which one they'd like to go with.
Mr. Mayor, one other question. You'd
Councilman
mentioned
Gordon.
and shown us the Whitewater Park. Are you aware of any other examples in Boise or elsewhere where there's the shared driveway in place that we may choose to visit?
Mayor and Councilman Borton, that is the only one that really encompasses what we're trying to do here, because we're really trying to emphasize this is only to access your homes. Other areas that might be somewhat similar would be frontage road scenarios. We've got one there on State Street at, I think it's 28th, and that is a frontage road. It's one way. It enables those people to get out onto the State Street. But this is an attempt to be able to preserve homes and really emphasize bikes and peds and only access to your houses. This isn't a way for you to, cut through.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman
Sorry, I lied. One more question. Back on concept one, there was a 4-foot sidewalk in this rough design on, I don't know if that's the west side. There's not one on the north or the other side. Is the 12-foot shared drive intended to satisfy just for those few homes, not only the car traffic, but also pedestrian? And if so, would you need the 4-foot sidewalk?
Mayor and Councilman Borton, that is a concrete ribbon where we're trying to highlight that that's where they can walk. For the east side, we're out of space. They have any alternative we put forward is potentially going to create non-conforming driveways. And thus we are trying to minimize the best we can while being able to preserve their homes. The concrete ribbon is something that we can do in a design. It's somewhat of a sidewalk, but as we move this forward into phase 2, the feedback we receive from the public, we can fold that into it. And what I'm hearing is this big emphasis to ensure that we have a designated space. I'm hearing that's incredibly important. And so certainly is some feedback we will take back to the team.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Pro.
Now I have more clarity, that the section of shared use was just one small section of this, and we didn't have access to any of these renderings before we came. So I'm trying to fill in the gaps between what we had in writing and what you're presenting here. So is there not going to be any on-street parking in this section, and where would folks have guests park?
Mayor and Councilwoman Pro, that is the trade-off. For concept 1, to preserve the homes, their parking would have to be on adjacent neighboring streets. For concept, let's see if we can track. For concept 3, so for concept 3, if you can see here, those hatch markings you hit at the roundabouts, we're likely to have to purchase all 4 of those properties because of the roundabout footprint. In that case, with the shared use road being on the west side, those 2 bookend properties next to the roundabouts will have a dual purpose. It'll be stormwater and parking. So we will be able to provide parking for that space. Primarily, it's because we want to emphasize the shared use road for bikes and peds and lessen any of those other types of interactions.
Okay. So next steps, go to the commission again, and then be back here sometime after that, or will you go back out to the public and redefine before you go back to the commission and council?
Mayor and council. So what we anticipate, the public survey will be open for the next 2 weeks. I encourage you to send that out to your folks to participate. Concluding that, our team will meet prior to January. In addition to that, we'll take all the public comments. We'll leave our consultants who work diligently for the 3 months to come up with an alternative. We'll be back before you in the springtime. There's 2 options and 2 paths we will take. Dependent if we make a lot of modifications to the proposed concepts, we could find ourselves going back out to the public again. If we don't make a lot of modifications and we're comfortable with the response, then we might just take it straight to you as an update and then back to the commission for a vote. We do provide an opportunity for us to engage with the public once more. I will tell you, we will be having a second round of evening meetings with the property owners once we narrow it down to the 2, because I definitely don't want them to find out about where their house stands in these projects without talking to me first. So we will have that between April and May. We'll be engaging with the property owners once again. But there's two paths. We'll either go back out to the public if we make a lot of modifications based off of feedback, or we'll go straight for a vote upon our commission.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's been a privilege to be before you. Certainly reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, council, we will stand in recess till 5:15.
5:30?
5:30, sorry. It's five. Yes, thank you.
Yep. I don't know what our.
All right, council, we'll go ahead and come back from recess and continue on with tonight's work session. Since the podium was already turned around, we just went ahead and come on down. And first item up is item 29, which is the Light My Fire check presentation. If we could have Mary and whoever else is coming on up. And I will just let you come over here and make some comments.
So today is a fantastic day for us at Light My Fire. It's a pleasure to be able to bless the Meridian Fire Department and the citizens of this great city. Our 2023 gala marked the 29th anniversary of raising funds for Meridian's fire safety education and prevention programs and emergency assistance to families devastated by fire right here in Meridian. Firefighters used to have grab money out of their back pockets in the middle of the night when you had a family that was out there without shoes and sometimes not much at all. And this fund helps them to be able to immediately get them help so that they can get a hotel, they can get shoes, they can get medicine, that type of thing. And so it is just a pleasure to help in this way. During this time span, over the 29 years, nearly $750,000 has been given to these worthy causes, which is a huge thing. It takes a hardworking, dedicated team to raise these funds. Several of our committee members are here, and I would like to introduce them to you. Bob Ricketts, Ricketts and Associates, been here from the very beginning, father of Light My Fire. Over here, we have Andrea Bradshaw with Belfour. Behind us, there is Corey Langdon with CRS and Pam Orr, an amazing woman, man. I'm just telling you, she is a goer. She does it all. And she's continuing helping us because she's got that fire in her belly to do good in the community. And I'm so proud to work beside her. It's truly a labor of love where competitors lay lances down. You know, we have all kinds of people in the insurance industry and the restoration industry, and we lay those lances down of competition to accomplish our mission. This year, Light My Fire will be donating a combined total of $102,200 that was raised at our Gold Rush Gala. The majority of dollars donated are split between Boise and Meridian, including a small donation to the Idaho First Responders Wellness Collaborative. Light My Fire has set aside $20,000 this year because we were able to raise a bunch of money. And so Pam Orr is like spearheading this, but it's to facilitate a micro grant program for smaller Idaho fire departments in 2024, which is a big deal. So without further ado, if Chief Wormuth would come up. Dun, 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 dun. For you, Chief, I have $15,000. Yes. And then to Engineer Ona, representing the Meridian Firefighters Association for the Burnout Fund. I present you with another $15,000. You're welcome. And to Chris Burkirk. I should do another dun, da, da, dun, right. So this is for the Idaho First Responders Wellness Collaborative. And we were able to raise $2,200. And I know that this is really important because first responders experience so many different things during their career that it's important to be able to help them with some sidewalls for those things that they experience. So it's our privilege to give you this money. And to close out, I'm going to turn my mic around. Mayor, City Council members, our 2024 gala event will be held at the Riverside Hotel Grand Ballroom on February the 16th. This marks our 30th anniversary, and the theme is Cheers to 30 Years, 007 Bond, James Bond. So We have a save the date for each one of you. And we double dog dare, no, triple dog dare you guys to attend. And when we did the Boise City Council presentation, I did a little job saying Mayor Simonson was there last year. All right, and our goal for this year is $120,000. So thank you.
I'll just say thank you and congratulations. And yes, it's an amazing event for everyone. I encourage you to consider going. My only advice to the rest of council is be prepared to get into theme because I was not. So that will be my own madness, but thank you. We appreciate it all for the work you do and look forward to seeing you there. So with that, we'll move on to item 30, which is our Meridian Stars presentation for the evening. So council, if you want to go ahead and come on down, but Meridian Stars recognize Meridian residents and businesses that demonstrate a commitment to preserving, maintaining, improving the quality of life and safety in neighborhoods and the wider community. We are presenting in 6 different categories. We have the Youth of the Year, Senior of the Year, Neighbor of the Year, Small Business of the Year, Large Business of the Year, and Mayor Star of the Year. I think we're going to have to add one more just so we make sure we give each council member an opportunity to do one for the future. So we'll have to think about that for next year. But the winners will be announced one by one as the council and myself go through and read the information about each winner. And then after the winners announced, ask them to come up and share a few words, get their award and get their picture taken. And then winners and their guests are welcome to enjoy cake and punch in the lobby outside of council chambers once the ceremony is over. So with that, we will go ahead and begin with our first one, which is our Youth of the Year. So I'll invite up John Overton.
Our Youth of the Year stands out as an exemplary young leader in this community. He's a wonderful musician, active in his orchestra, a swimmer, a youth commissioner on Meridian's own Transportation Commission. And last year, he served as a leader in Meridian's MIAC, which is the Meridian Youth Advisory Council. He played an important role in introducing his fellow students to learn more about and get involved with local government. For his dedication to our community and his persistence in making sure youth voices are heard, Hao Yoon Song is our Youth of the Year. Hao Yoon, please come up and share a few words about what motivates you to make your community a better place.
Hello, my name is Hoyun Song, and I'm a senior from Bishop Kelly High School. To be honest, I was actually quite surprised in getting this award because if I think back to when I was in 10th grade, first joining MIAC, meeting the mayor for the first time, I would never have imagined that I would one day serve on the Transportation Commission or one day become one of the leaders of MIAC. And really how much MIAC would even change me as a person. I was very shy. I was not very good at giving speeches or talking to a room full of people. And MIAC helped me to become a better version of myself by learning to connect with many people and learning to serve my community in ways that I'd never have expected before. So this is just a tremendous honor. Thank you so much to the mayor, the members of the city council, and of course, my mom sitting right there in the back. Thank you, it's a tremendous honor.
I'm Brad Hoagland, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce our Senior of the Year. One of the things I've had a great advantage learning about public service because I grew up in Meridian, and that was something where you saw it all around you. People were giving back to their community. They wanted to support their community. They wanted to support one another. And I think that's why we're growing like we are, because we still do that to this day. It is, people care about their neighbors, they care about their community and making things better. And I think one of the great examples I had was someone who served on city council for many, many years, Keith Bird, late council member, gave back to his community. He started a long time ago. I remember I was on his Optimist football team. I think I was the second team he coached. Did that for many years. And my dad was a counselor at high school, and my dad knew he could go to Keith and say, hey, I've got a kid who needs some help. He needs a job. We need to keep him engaged. We need to keep him involved in school. And this is where you can help. And Keith he helped countless young people. So, those are the types of examples we have here at Meridian. And we have that today. Even though Keith is gone, there are still people who are committed to that type of service to our community today. This person who is in her mid 80s, and she is serving our community through the Meals on Wheels program. And she goes and delivers meals twice a week to people who are much younger than her. Imagine that. I think I'd qualify now age-wise for Meals on Wheels, but not yet. So anyway, we do want to recognize her for her commitment, her continuing service to our community. And I want to introduce to you our Senior of the Year, Patsy Gardner. So Patsy, please come on up.
Nobody told me I was going to say a few words. Having taught kindergarten for 19 years, I have a lot of words, and then I did preschool for 11 after that. And that's how I got in Meal on Wheels. I needed something after I wasn't teaching, but yet I still like to talk with people, little ones, big ones. So my daughter-in-law says, why don't you check on the Meal on Wheels? And so I did, and they always need volunteers, and I can still drive. Thank the Lord. I got a good attitude. I got good health. Again, thank the Lord. And so they become family, which is wonderful because I have family also here in Idaho, but but then there's the disappointment as sometimes their health isn't good and you worry about them. So it becomes, every time they come to the door and they're upright, it's a good day. And I've learned so much about people, and then I get my fill of how I like to share talking. So thank you. This was very humbling. So thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to do this next one as a team. So there's a lot of things that are really fun about this evening every year. And part of it is to recognize the folks that you've heard about already. And part of it is to see everyone else in the room. The folks, the family and the friends and the neighbors that come and care about those, that we take some time to celebrate them, because those we recognize are certainly loved. We can tell with the crowds that come today. Elizabeth Strader and I are going to tag team this next one because we've got two individuals to recognize. This is the Neighbors of the Year. And if you lived in Meridian for some time, some longer than others, you've come to realize that community means a lot. And taking some time to go and visit those in your neighborhood who live next door or across the street, getting to know them, caring about them, checking in on them is a big part of what makes Meridian Meridian. It's sort of in our DNA. And tonight, we're going to recognize a husband and wife couple who have been doing that for over 50 years in our community. A lot of it is quietly done without asking for any recognition, but it means the world to those that they care for and they spend time with. They've earned this year's Neighbor of the Year award by the example of and the impact that they've had on with the small acts of kindness that have a huge impact on those they care for. Over these 50 years, they've shared their home with friends and family and strangers. They've thought of others when they need a place to stay and asking for nothing in return. It's not really complicated. It's a very simple recipe, and it comes with a very huge heart that this husband and wife couple are recognized as Neighbors of the Year.
So they plant a huge vegetable and flower garden, and they share their produce with friends and family. They keep everyone they know well fed, whether they're hosting a huge family dinner, a class reunion lunch, or a Bible study. Their neighbors say they are grateful to consider them honorary grandparents of everyone who lives on the street. Well, I know we can always all use an extra honorary grandparent, so that's fantastic. In honor of their decades of neighborly warmth and kindness, this year's Neighbor of the Year award goes to Carol and Eldon Levitz, please come up.
Getting rowdy.
You can't be a neighbor without a neighborhood. Come on, stand up, neighborhood. Come on, come on.
Look at that. Look at that.
There. And family. Well, when we were surprised, he left me a text message. And so I called to see what we were supposed to do. And he said there would be cake and punch and
few words.
But few words is like giving me a bag of potato chips and telling me to eat one. So I went on AI. Thought I would have something worthy of this gala occasion. But so much has changed in the 50 years that we've lived here. Some of you weren't even alive when we moved to Meridian.
Yep, everybody thought we were out of our mind moving way out in the country. So we've been out here, 51 years, the same location. We raised 4 kids. They went to South Side Elementary. They went to the 1 Meridian Junior High, and all 4 of them went to the 1 Meridian High School. So yeah, remember when 7 Mile Road was a 2-lane road? I don't know whether any of you even know what 7 Mile Road was. That is now Eagle Road. So we have seen tremendous growth in this country and area, and I've loved it very much.
When we moved to Meridian, the feeling of community was what was so good. You know, when you went to the blood drawing, Mrs. Ashenbrenner took your information. Bill Berg was keeping everybody entertained. And, you bought corn from, the corner of Mr. Whately right there at Overland and Eagle Road, at Locust Grove, pardon me. And it's grown. When we moved out, we were the young people with the young children. And then for many years, we were the oldie moldies and the whole lane was dead. And then God blessed us with young families. So all you had to do to be loved was have plenty of jolly ranchers. And that's what we did. And we have a real strong HOA in our community, helping one another. And that's what we do. So thank you, neighbors.
Let's get a photo.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. I think it's a big occasion. I think it's the first time in my 10 years on council, we've had somebody come speak so favorably about a homeowners association. So, wow. Check the temperature someplace. Events like this, for those of us that are Gen Xers, I go back to my childhood watching Sesame Street, and that's that these are the people in our neighborhood, in our neighborhood, in our neighborhood. These are the people in our neighborhood that we meet when we're walking down the street each day. And Mayor Sahan, thank you for doing this event each year. It's a good reminder that no matter how big our population is, we still are this neighborhood and community really working together. My 7-year-old thinks that I get to do a lot on the city council. The fact is it's very, very little, but I did petition to be able to present this award tonight. So thank you for honoring my request, because I don't know if you know this, but small business is thriving in Meridian. And this year's award winner has gone above and beyond, continually proving itself to be a huge advocate for our community. The owners, a husband and wife team, took ownership of their brewery in 2022. And their first order of business was to create a family-friendly experience for neighbors to enjoy and for groups to gather in, with an unwavering commitment to our community and to philanthropic endeavors. This company focuses on supporting local businesses around them, whether it's through their amazing vending machine that spits out amazing books for our community to take part in, to host a variety of different trivia events, and one of my favorites, Thursday Bingo. They do live music from local musicians on Friday as well. This business is seemingly always present in our community. And it's a testament to how many people are here for them tonight. So for providing a welcoming place for families, the neighbors, including the Cavaners, to gather in from time to time, and for doing so much to give back to our community. This year's Small Business of the Year goes to Loose Screw Brewing. And Mike and Pam, would you please come up? And if you want to bring your staff, everybody with, and really celebrate all you do for our community.
Wow. Mike, this is my wife, Pam. Truly honored. Surprised too. So surprised that, when the staff called our tap room and talked to Natasha, she texted me, "Hey, we won this award." And I was like, just forget it. It's a scam. Next thing they're going to do, they're going to want you to purchase a plaque for $400. I get these emails all the time. But then, after Googling the phone number back, I'd realized, oh no, this is for real. So, truly honored, truly, just beyond blessed in getting this recognition from the council, city staff, citizens, and being able to allow this today. It's not the reason why we do it though. We really do this. We're a firm believer of giving back. And fortunately, we've got this cool brewery to be able to do that through. And a cool brewery that we're going to be adding on to. It's probably many of you know, we're going to be opening up a new brewery tap room just down the road here, which we're really excited about to open up next year. None of this, would be possible without an awesome support staff and team behind me, including my wife. But I'd like my team actually to stand up if you could. Our head brewer, Marcos. We've got Mason, got Rebecca, and Natasha. It's not really me. It's this team that really makes all of this possible. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Councilmember Jessica Perot, and I echo my fellow council members' excitement about what we get to do here this evening. This is my last month on council, so this is an extra special opportunity to share my appreciation, our appreciation with you in our community. Our business community is really important to the city of Meridian. We are incredibly grateful for our business owners and our large companies. They have a powerful impact on our local economy. So I have the opportunity of presenting the award to the large business of the year to receive a Meridian Star. And this business does not just build houses, but what makes them stand out is their enduring commitment to supporting the community. Whether it's sponsoring an outdoor picnic area at the new Ronald McDonald House, Charities, which is downtown, donating to the pediatric cardiology clinic at St. Luke's Children's Hospital, or even building a playhouse for a young boy with cardiomyopathy through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. All of this, as if all of this wasn't generous enough, this company is especially well known for building the St. Jude Dream Home every year, and I'm sure you're all familiar with that. For 11 years, they have built the St. Jude Dream Home at no cost to the public. And in doing that, they have raised millions of dollars for the treatment and research of young cancer patients. So as a real estate broker here in Meridian, it is my extra special honor to announce that Berkeley Building Company is our large business of the year. Thank you for your exceptional spirit of giving, service, and business excellence. Please come up and take an opportunity to share some words.
I didn't have the opportunity to know that I might be saying a few words, and otherwise I definitely would have gotten on AI with my friend over there, who I've learned a lot from, and am currently shopping for, what did you say, Jolly Ranchers? This is how we gain friends and influence people. I just wanted to say, first and foremost, what an honor hearing the stories of everyone that came before us. I mean, we are a large company in theory. We might not be so big, but just the students and seniors and neighbors that are putting so much out into the community, that's a personal sacrifice. That's so great. And we're honored to be among you. So thank you for all that you do. All that you do is part of why it's so important for our why to give back to the community that we serve. We've been building in the city of Meridian since we began 15 years ago, and take very seriously our commitment to building so much more than homes, but to building the community that we live in and supporting what's important to all the people who end up living in our homes. So thank you so much for this honor, Mayor and City Council. You've been a great partner to us to help us with building in the community responsibly, and are part of why we're able to give back in such a big way, because if we weren't able to build homes, we couldn't do what we're able to do. So thank you so much all around, and we appreciate this. What a great honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, bring everybody up.
One more to go, and then there is cake. So there. So I'll do the Mayor Star of the Year, and really this gives me the opportunity because when you get submissions and you have different categories and maybe some very deserving people in a similar category, gives us an opportunity to pick that one other person or group or individuals in order to do that. So we will go ahead and do the Mayor Star of the Year. And this too is for two people, a couple. But This year, that recognition goes to a couple who are an example to all of us when it comes to being kind neighbors. When the couple were in the process of changing their landscaping, they not only offered to give away their beautiful plants to a neighbor, but actually went above and beyond and did the work in digging and replanting them for their neighbors in ideal locations. They provide jumbo-sized road food to a neighbor who was going on a lengthy car trip in an unpredictable weather, so they wouldn't have to worry about making stops. I'm going to Whistler in January, just throwing that out there. They keep a close eye on the homes of neighbors when they're on vacation. And as longtime local business owners, they personally nurture young professionals in their field to help them succeed and encourage them to stay in Idaho so that we can all benefit from their valuable skills. This couple actively goes out of their way to make their neighborhood and Meridian as a whole a better, safer, and far more enjoyable place to live. For these reasons and more, this year's Star of the Year, Bear Star of the Year award goes to Tom and Bonnie Carnes. Tom and Bonnie, if you'd please come forward, we'd love to recognize you.
If Tom's lucky, I'll give him an opportunity to talk, but this is a very humbling award. I wish everybody could have neighbors like we have. We sit at the end of a cul-de-sac and we are such introverts. We sit way back at the end of the cul-de-sac. But little did we know we were going to be blessed with such great neighbors. So I'm going to keep it short because I know everybody is waiting for their cake. I ditto everything that everybody has said, but I'd like to thank the city council. I'd like to thank the mayor. And most importantly, I'd like to thank our neighbors. Tom, you could say thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn our meeting.
I have a motion adjourned. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.